The rusty chains hanging from the bedroom doorframe at 160 Muir Woods Road in Paris, California, had been there for so long that neighbors assumed they were just part of some unusual home security system. But on January 14, 2018, when police finally entered the Turpin family home, they discovered that those chains weren't for keeping intruders out. They were for keeping children in. 13 children, ranging in age from 2 to 29, had been shackled, starved, and tortured by their own parents for decades in what appeared from the outside to be a normal suburban home. David Allen Turpin, 57, and Louise Anna Turpin, 49, had created the perfect facade of a large, religious family living the American dream. Their Facebook page was filled with photos of family trips to Disneyland, renewal of wedding vows in Las Vegas, and smiling children dressed in matching outfits. To neighbors in the middle-class Paris neighborhood, the Turpins seemed like devout Christians who kept to themselves and homeschooled their many children. What no one realized was that behind the closed doors of their 4-bedroom house, the parents had created a torture chamber disguised as a family home. According to the Riverside County District Attorney's case file, which contains over 3,000 pages of evidence and testimony, the investigation began with a single phone call to 911 at 5:51 a.m. on January 14, 2018. The caller was 17-year-old Jordan Turpin, who had managed to escape through a window and was calling from a deactivated cell phone she had found in the house. "I live in a family of 15, she told dispatcher Aaron Fleshman. "My parents are abusive. My 2 little sisters right now are chained to their bed." The dispatcher initially thought it was a prank call until she heard the genuine terror in Jordan's voice. Body camera footage from Deputy Manuel Campos, who responded to Jordan's 911 call, shows a severely malnourished teenager who looked no older than 10 despite being 17 years old. Jordan weighed only 82 pounds and had cognitive delays from years of malnutrition and educational neglect. When Deputy Campos asked her to describe the conditions inside the house, Jordan's response was chilling. "They chain us to our beds, sometimes for months. They don't let us use the bathroom. They beat us if we cry." The deputy initially didn't believe her until he saw the house himself. The chains became crucial evidence because they contained DNA from all 13 children, proving the systematic nature of the abuse. Each child had been assigned specific chains with padlocks, and parents kept the keys in their bedroom. According to forensic analysis conducted by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, some of the chains showed evidence of being in use for over a decade, with rust patterns indicating they had never been removed for extended periods. What investigators would discover inside the Turpin house would challenge everything they thought they knew about family abuse and reveal one of the most shocking cases of child torture in American history. The escape that exposed the Turpin House of Horrors had been planned by 17-year-old Jordan Turpin for over 2 years. According to her detailed testimony given to investigators, Jordan had been secretly watching YouTube videos on a deactivated cell phone she found, learning about the outside world and realizing that her family's situation wasn't normal. "I saw other families," Jordan told Detective Thomas Salisbury. "They weren't chained up. The children went to school. I knew something was very wrong with our house." Jordan's plan required incredible courage and patience. She had to wait for the perfect moment when both parents were asleep and she could climb out of a first-floor window without waking anyone. According to her testimony, she had attempted to escape twice before, but had been caught and severely punished, chained to her bed for weeks and given only one meal every 3 days. "The last time they caught me trying to leave, my father said if I tried again, he would kill me," Jordan told investigators. On the morning of January 14, 2018, Jordan finally succeeded. She climbed out of her bedroom window at approximately 5:30 a.m. and ran to a nearby intersection where she had seen people walking dogs. The 911 call recording reveals Jordan's terror and confusion as she tried to explain her situation to the dispatcher. "I don't know much about anything," she said. "We're not allowed to know about things. But I know this isn't right." Deputy Manuel Campos found Jordan hiding behind a tree, terrified that her parents had discovered her escape. Body camera footage shows a severely malnourished girl who appeared years younger than her actual age, wearing dirty clothes that were too small for her. "She was so thin," Deputy Campos later testified. "I've seen malnutrition in my career, but never anything like this." She looked like a concentration camp victim. Jordan's cognitive abilities had been severely impacted by years of isolation and educational neglect. She didn't know what a police officer was, had never heard of medication, and couldn't understand basic concepts that most children learn by age 5. She kept asking me if I was going to hurt her, Deputy Compass recalled. She didn't understand that police are supposed to help people. She had been taught that everyone outside her family was dangerous. The most heartbreaking moment came when Jordan tried to lead Deputy Campus back to her house. She kept looking over her shoulder, the deputy testified. She was terrified her parents would see us coming. She whispered everything because she said if they heard her talking to strangers, they would chain her up forever. Jordan's bravery in making that 911 call would save not only her own life, but the lives of her 12 siblings who were still trapped inside the house. But nothing could have prepared the responding officers for what they would find when they finally entered the Turpin family home. When Deputy Manuel Campos and Sergeant Christopher Duffin knocked on the door of 160 Muirwoods Road at 6:15 a.m. on January 14, 2018, David and Louise Turpin answered with confused smiles, acting as if nothing was wrong. They seemed surprised to see us, Deputy Campos later testified. They kept asking why we were there, as if they had no idea one of their children had just escaped, and called 911. Body camera footage shows the parents appearing calm and cooperative, even inviting the officers inside. The first thing officers noticed was the overwhelming smell of human waste and decay permeating the house. It hit you like a wall, Sergeant Duffin testified. I've been in a lot of bad situations, but I've never smelled anything like that. It was the smell of people who hadn't been able to bathe or use proper bathroom facilities for extended periods. The windows were covered with thick curtains and cardboard, blocking all natural light and making the house feel like a prison. As officers moved through the house, they began discovering the children. Some were chained to beds with heavy padlocks, while others cowered in corners, terrified by the presence of strangers. According to the official police report, several of the children had never seen a police officer before and didn't understand why strangers were in their house. The youngest victims, ages 2 and 4, were found chained to a bed in a back bedroom, sitting in their own waste. The living conditions were beyond anything investigators had encountered in their careers. Children were sleeping on bare mattresses soaked with urine and feces. There was no edible food in the house, only expired canned goods and a few pieces of moldy bread. The refrigerator was padlocked shut, and the pantry was secured with multiple locks. The parents ate in front of the children, Detective Salisbury noted in his report. They would prepare meals and eat them while the children watched, sometimes giving them only a single cracker or piece of bread. Medical examinations conducted at Riverside University Health System revealed the extent of the children's physical deterioration. The adult children, ages 18 to 29, weighed between 80 and 120 pounds, significantly underweight for their ages. Many had never been to a doctor or dentist, resulting in severe tooth decay and untreated medical conditions. Several children had cognitive delays consistent with prolonged malnutrition and educational neglect. Perhaps most disturbing was the discovery of the punishment room, a small bedroom where children were taken for severe beatings and extended chaining. The walls showed evidence of impact damage, and restraint marks were worn into the floor from years of children being shackled in the same positions. It was designed specifically for torture, forensic specialist Janet Powers testified. Everything in that room was positioned to cause maximum physical and psychological suffering. The more investigators learned about the children's daily lives, the more they realized this wasn't just neglect. It was systematic, methodical torture disguised as parenting. David and Louise Turpin had spent decades perfecting their system of control and manipulation, using religious doctrine and psychological warfare to maintain absolute power over their 13 children. According to court documents and testimony from family members, David Turpin believed he was ordained by God to lead his family and that his children were his property to treat as he saw fit. Louise Turpin, who had been homeschooled herself and married David when she was just 16, enabled and participated in every aspect of the abuse. The couple had moved frequently throughout their marriage, always staying one step ahead of concerned neighbors or authorities who might question their parenting methods. They had lived in Texas, West Virginia, and multiple locations in California before settling in Paris in 2014. Each move was carefully planned to avoid scrutiny. David would find work as an engineer while Louise focused on controlling the children's every movement and thought. Religious manipulation was a cornerstone of the Turpins' control system. According to testimony from the older children, David claimed to be a prophet who received direct communications from God about how the family should live. Children were told that disobeying their parents was equivalent to disobeying God and would result in eternal damnation. They used our faith against us, 22-year-old Jennifer Turpin later testified. We were taught that suffering was God's will and that questioning our parents was a sin. The educational neglect was systematic and intentional. While the children were officially registered as homeschooled, they received virtually no education beyond basic reading and writing. Several of the adult children couldn't perform simple arithmetic, didn't know what medications were, and had never heard of most common household items. They kept us ignorant on purpose, testified 20-year-old Joshua Turpin. They said too much knowledge would corrupt us and turn us away from God. Control methods included elaborate punishment systems and psychological manipulation. Children were given numbers instead of being called by their names during punishments. They were forced to memorize Bible verses for hours, and failure to recite them perfectly resulted in beatings or extended chaining. The parents also used food as a weapon, forcing children to watch them eat full meals while the children received only scraps. The financial aspect of the abuse was particularly cynical. David Turpin earned over $140,000 per year as an engineer, but spent most of the money on himself and Louise while keeping the children in poverty. They received significant tax benefits for having 13 dependents, and Louise collected welfare benefits by claiming the children had special needs. They profited from our suffering, Jennifer Turpin testified. They got money for keeping us sick and uneducated. Social media became another tool of manipulation and control. The parents forced the children to pose for family photos that were posted on Facebook, creating the illusion of a happy, large family. Children were coached on what to say and how to smile, and any deviation from the script resulted in severe punishment. The systematic nature of the abuse revealed that the Turpins hadn't simply lost control as parents. They had deliberately created a prison disguised as a home. On January 15, 2018, less than 24 hours after the discovery of the Turpin children, David and Louise Turpin were arrested at their Paris home and charged with multiple counts of child abuse, torture, and false imprisonment. The arrest was captured on body camera footage that shows both parents appearing shocked that they were being held accountable for their actions. They kept asking what they had done wrong, Detective Thomas Salisbury later testified. They genuinely seemed to believe that what they were doing to their children was normal parenting. During their initial interrogations, conducted separately at the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, both parents provided statements that revealed their complete lack of understanding about child welfare and basic human rights. David Turpin told investigators that chaining the children was necessary for discipline and safety, claiming that the children were out of control and needed strict boundaries. Louise Turpin insisted that they were good parents who were simply trying to protect their children from the evil influences of the outside world. The evidence collection process at 160 Muir Woods Road took forensic specialists over a week to complete. Crime scene investigators documented hundreds of pieces of evidence, including the chains and padlocks used to restrain the children, journals kept by some of the older children describing their abuse, and photographs that contradicted the family's public image. The house itself became evidence of the systematic nature of the abuse. Forensic analysis of the children's living spaces revealed disturbing details about their daily existence. Investigators found that children had been forced to use bottles as toilets when they were chained to their beds, and many had developed serious medical conditions from prolonged restraint and malnutrition. The discovery of hidden food in various locations throughout the house showed that children had been trying to hoard small amounts of food when possible. Digital forensics revealed the extent of the parents' deception and planning. Computer searches showed that David Turpin had researched homeschooling laws to find loopholes that would allow him to avoid educational oversight. The parents had also researched child development to better understand how to control their children's psychological development. They used psychological research to inflict maximum damage, testified digital forensics expert Michael Chun. Financial records subpoenaed during the investigation revealed that while the children suffered from malnutrition and medical neglect, the parents had spent thousands of dollars on vacations, restaurant meals, and personal luxuries. Bank records showed regular trips to Las Vegas, expensive purchases at electronics stores, and payments for the parents' own medical and dental care while the children received none. Perhaps most damaging were the journals and letters written by some of the older children, discovered hidden throughout the house. These documents, written in secret over many years, provided a detailed account of the abuse from the victims' perspectives. They wrote about being chained for months, about watching their younger siblings get beaten, about dreaming of escape, Detective Salisbury testified. These weren't just children suffering. These were children who understood they were being tortured. The evidence painted a picture of two people who had systematically destroyed the lives of 13 children, while maintaining a facade of religious devotion and family values. The testimonies provided by the Turpin children during the investigation revealed the full scope of their parents' cruelty and the remarkable resilience of young people who had survived decades of systematic torture. Due to their isolation and educational neglect, many of the children initially struggled to communicate with investigators, requiring specially trained child psychologists and social workers to help them tell their stories. Jordan Turpin, 17-year-old, who had escaped and called 911, provided the most detailed account of life inside the house. According to her testimony, children were often chained to their beds for weeks or months as punishment for minor infractions like laughing too loudly or asking for food. If we cried while we were being beaten, they would beat us harder for crying, Jordan told Dr. Kimberly Best, the psychologist assigned to her case. We learned to be completely silent, no matter what they did to us. The medical evidence documented by physicians at Riverside University Health System was shocking even to doctors experienced in treating abuse cases. Dr. Sophia Grant, who examined several of the children, testified that their physical development had been severely stunted by malnutrition. The 29-year-old victim weighed only 82 pounds, Dr. Grant reported. Her cognitive development was consistent with someone much younger, and she had never experienced puberty due to severe malnutrition. Dental examinations revealed that most of the children had never received any dental care, resulting in severe tooth decay and gum disease. Some children had lost multiple teeth from malnutrition, while others had dental abscesses that could have been life-threatening if left untreated. Their mouths were like those of elderly people who had never received medical care, testified Dr. Robert Martinez, the forensic dentist who examined the victims. The psychological evaluations conducted by specialists revealed complex trauma patterns, consistent with prolonged captivity and torture. Dr. Best noted that many of the children displayed symptoms similar to prisoners of war or concentration camp survivors. They had been systematically broken down psychologically, she testified. Their sense of reality had been completely distorted by years of manipulation and abuse. Recovery efforts focused on both immediate medical needs and long-term psychological rehabilitation. The children required extensive medical treatment for malnutrition, dental problems, and untreated injuries. Several needed surgery for conditions that had been ignored for years. The adult children required intensive education to learn basic life skills like using public transportation, shopping for food, and understanding money. Perhaps most remarkable was the children's capacity for forgiveness and their desire to help each other heal. Despite years of being turned against each other through punishment systems, the siblings showed strong bonds and protective instincts. They would comfort each other during medical procedures, noted nurse practitioner Lisa Wong. They had maintained their humanity despite everything their parents had done to destroy it. The recovery process also revealed the children's incredible intelligence and potential. Once provided with proper nutrition and education, several of the children showed rapid cognitive improvement. Jordan Turpin, who had been denied education for years, quickly learned to read at an advanced level and expressed dreams of attending college and becoming a nurse to help other children. The children's testimonies not only provided evidence for the prosecution, but also demonstrated the incredible strength of the human spirit in surviving unimaginable cruelty. On April 19, 2019, David and Louise Turpin appeared in Riverside County Superior Court to face the consequences of their decades-long campaign of torture against their own children. The couple had initially planned to fight the charges, but the overwhelming evidence and detailed testimonies from their victims made a plea agreement their only viable option. They pleaded guilty to 14 felony counts including torture, child abuse, dependent adult abuse, and false imprisonment. The sentencing hearing, presided over by Judge Bernard Schwartz, was one of the most emotionally charged proceedings in the court's history. Several of the Turpin children chose to address their parents directly, providing victim impact statements that demonstrated both their trauma and their remarkable courage. Jordan Turpin, now 18, spoke directly to her parents. I cannot describe in words what we went through growing up. But I'm glad you did it to me instead of my siblings because I was able to get help for them. Jennifer Turpin, 33, delivered a statement that brought the packed courtroom to tears. My parents took my whole life from me, but I'm getting my life back. I'm going to college and I'm writing a book. I want to use my story to help other children who might be suffering like we did. The strength and articulation of the adult children shocked observers who had seen them as severely damaged victims just months earlier. The prosecution, led by Deputy District Attorney Kevin Beecham, argued for the maximum sentence, emphasizing the systematic and prolonged nature of the abuse. This wasn't a case of parents who lost control, Beecham told the court. This was a deliberate, calculated campaign of torture that lasted for decades. These defendants turned parenthood into a weapon and used their children's love and trust to inflict unimaginable suffering. Judge Schwartz sentenced both David and Louise Turpin to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. In his sentencing statement, Judge Schwartz said, "The defendants' actions were nothing short of torture. They robbed their children of their childhood, their education, their health, and nearly their lives. While the physical wounds may heal, the psychological scars will last forever." The public response to the Turpin case was immediate and overwhelming. Social media campaigns raised over $600,000 for the children's medical care and education expenses. The case sparked nationwide discussions about homeschooling oversight and the need for better systems to protect children from abuse within their own families. Child welfare advocates used the case to push for legislative changes in California and other states. Assembly Bill 2756, known as the Turpin Act, was passed in California in 2019, requiring more oversight of homeschooling families and better training for social workers to recognize signs of severe abuse. The case also highlighted the power of social media in creating false narratives about family life. The Turpins' Facebook page, which had shown a happy family enjoying trips to Disneyland and family celebrations, was studied by researchers as an example of how abusers can use social media to hide their crimes and maintain community acceptance. The sentencing brought legal closure to the case, but the impact on child protection policies and public awareness would continue for years to come. As of 2024, David and Louise Turpin remain incarcerated in California state prisons, serving their life sentences for the systematic torture of their 13 children. David is housed at the California State Prison in Corcoran, while Louise is at the California Institution for Women in Corona. According to prison records, both continue to maintain that they were good parents who were misunderstood by a system that doesn't appreciate their religious values and parenting methods. The Turpin children have made remarkable progress in their recovery and integration into society. Jordan Turpin, now 23, has become a powerful advocate for child abuse survivors and has spoken at conferences about recognizing signs of family abuse. She completed her GED and is pursuing a nursing degree, determined to help other children who have suffered trauma. "I want to be the person I needed when I was trapped in that house," Jordan said in a recent interview. Several of the adult children have learned to drive, found employment, and established independent lives. The younger children have been placed in foster care and are receiving intensive educational support to overcome years of neglect. Medical reports indicate that with proper nutrition and care, many of the physical effects of malnutrition have been reversed, though some children will require ongoing medical monitoring. The case has led to significant changes in child protection policies across the United States. California now requires annual face-to-face meetings between homeschooled children and education officials, and other states have implemented similar oversight measures. Social workers receive enhanced training on recognizing signs of prolonged abuse and isolation within families. Law enforcement agencies have incorporated lessons from the Turpin case into their training programs, particularly regarding the intersection of religious extremism and child abuse. The case demonstrated how abusers can use religious doctrine and homeschooling laws to isolate their victims and avoid detection for extended periods. Mental health professionals continue to study the Turpin children's recovery as a remarkable example of human resilience. Dr. Kimberly Best, who continues to work with several of the children, notes that their capacity for healing and growth has exceeded all expectations. They show us that even after the most severe trauma, the human spirit can recover and thrive with proper support and care. The house at 160 Muir Woods Road was eventually sold and demolished, but the neighborhood remains marked by the knowledge of what occurred there. A small memorial garden was planted at the site, maintained by community members who want to honor the children's survival and recovery. The case continues to serve as a stark reminder that child abuse can occur in any community, hidden behind facades of respectability and religious devotion. The Turpin children's courage in survival and recovery has inspired legislative changes, improved child protection practices, and given hope to other survivors of family abuse worldwide. Next week, we'll explore another case that challenges our assumptions about religious communities and family values. The FLDS polygamous compound in Texas, where authorities discovered a systematic pattern of child marriage and abuse hidden within a supposed religious sanctuary. How can communities better protect children from abuse within their own families? What warning signs should neighbors and officials watch for when families seem too isolated or perfect? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your awareness could help save a child's life.